Hey pillars, welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, I'll be explaining why buying an expensive bike is probably the biggest waste of money a cyclist can make. So without further ado, let's jump right into this video. So the whole point of this video is to basically highlight what I've learned in over 6 to 7 years of riding road bikes and then a bunch of cycling as the years went on. And it's just a very interesting topic because I get this question asked a lot because I do compare bikes on this channel. So I thought, what better way to really give you guys firsthand experience, my experience, what I've learned, and pretty much what I would define as the truth when it comes to this. And after watching this video from start to finish, if you actually go through the whole video, you'll probably have a better appreciation just for what your body can actually do versus the bike you buy. And you'll actually learn as we get into this video. So enough of the chit chat, let's watch this video right now. So on screen right now, I have a TCR Advanced Pro 1 2021 model to show you roughly how much the price of this bike is. So it's 3,500 USD, which is quite expensive. And this is because it is rim brake. So that's why the price is actually cheaper, and it has a full Ultegra group set with a carbon frame, fork, carbon rims, you know, the whole shabam that you would expect in a race bike at this level. Now, since majority of bike shops and brands don't even sell rim brake bikes, you most likely have to spend roughly 4,500 USD, if not more. I know for Specialized it's 5,000 USD to get a bike with carbon rims, Ultegra 11-speed hydraulic group set, carbon fiber frame, and fork. And it's lucky because Giant at this price point actually includes a power meter. So it just shows you how expensive the bike I was actually riding at the time was. So it's 3,500 USD, and I was riding this bike. And you can actually see as we go into this video, you can actually see my fitness at the time was nothing crazy, nothing amazing. You know, I'm pretty, I wouldn't say huge or something like very overweight, but I wasn't in the best shape that I could be, and totally, you know, in terms of fitness, I could do a lot better. Now, it was actually at that time where I had the opportunity to watch a cycling race in Quebec, which was very nice, and Montreal, and I actually took it upon myself to rent a bike there and to ride with the pros. Now, one thing about this point in my life was that because I was working and doing so much, I didn't really have time to train like I have in the past. So my weight has always fluctuated, and it's always relatively around training. The more ability I have to ride, which makes sense, the leaner I get, the fitter I get. So after going to this race and really just riding with the pros and seeing how fit, because you guys gotta remember, a lot of people out there have never ridden with pros, and I'm not saying that, you know, you can't be a strong cyclist or you don't know about cycling if you haven't ridden with pros, but you know, the really fast guys in the group rides, like, that's, you know, that might be the most you ever see. But when you take it to the pro level, you know, there's people that have won the Tour de France at the race I was in, and I rode with Julien Alaphilippe. Like, I've ridden with some of the best cyclists currently in the pro peloton. So the appreciation that you have for the level of fitness and dedication and just commitment to the sport is just on a totally different level. And the reason why I'm even explaining this is because after watching this race and, you know, just being in the cycling environment and, you know, aura of these pros, I just really had, you know, an epiphany kind of, or like a aha moment where I was like, why can't I get this fit? Like, why is it that these pros are that fit? Like, why can't I do that? And I've already been, you know, pretty strong, I'll show later on race footage of me racing. So I have experience, I've been relatively fit, but I've never taken it to that next level. That's the one thing with me is that, you know, I'd take training on and off, so I'd get pretty in shape, but I never took it to like 100%, which I always struggled with for some reason. And a lot of the time that was just because always with time constraints and, you know, it's just hard. It's just hard, especially when you're young. It's kind of hard to dedicate. And the funny thing is that it only gets harder as you go older. So right now on screen, you can see I'm riding with Julien Alaphilippe and Remco from Deceuninck Quickstep. So, you know, some top riders. And it was just mind-boggling. And, you know, not to say that you should feel bad, but when I rode with them, it just felt, you know, it just felt weird because it was like, look at these fit cyclists, these strong racers, and I just wasn't at their level. And obviously, most likely I will never be on their levels because I'm not trying to pursue being a pro cyclist, but it would have felt nicer if I would have taken training a little bit serious and actually got to enjoy the ride, because at certain points it was pretty tough, but it wasn't impossible. Lastly, this was riding with Kwiatkowski from Ineos, a world champion, a former world champion. But I just want to remind you guys, this is what I looked like, okay? Nothing amazing. My fitness is very, very poor. Probably one of the most, you know, poor, you know, times in my life in terms of fitness. And you can see I'm on this bike, a 3,500 USD bike. Obviously, this is a 2016 frame, but in terms of the original value and, you know, MSRP, it was a very expensive bike. And you can see I do not look like Julien Alaphilippe. If we look back at that, I do not look like Julien Alaphilippe. And I'm not saying that you have to. I'm just saying, you know, a goal of mine is why can't I? Why can't I optimize my training and be super fit? Like, that's how I was racing at. And, you know, not saying that I was totally bad, but it's funny, in this race, right, that's me at the start line, and this is me at the race at the back of the peloton. And it's just crazy because I would say my fitness was relatively good, but I wasn't doing proper, you know, structured training. And, you know, as time got, you know, going and I got a swing of things, especially when I was racing more in my younger years, I say that I'm pretty young to begin with, but you know, I got better and, you know, my fitness started improving, and it was because I was racing more and riding more. And that's the one thing that people always forget, is the correlation between riding and then also in terms of racing. You need to have that, you know, explosiveness, and you have to incorporate interval training, all that good stuff, which I kind of wasn't doing at this point. And eventually, especially this year, I ended up doing that in 2020, and that's where the crazy transformation actually happened for me. So you can see this was a full year ago. So this is when I actually went to Quebec. This is the season that I raced, and you can see I'm riding on the expensive Giant TCR, but I'm not as fit as I could be. But the craziest thing, this is what is crazy, you know, I had enough energy, I had enough fitness, I was commuting enough where I was pushing some good wattage, and I was pretty heavy to begin with. So, you know, there's people in this race even that are, you know, leaner and ride more than me, but, you know, I just feel like when it comes to racing, especially criteriums, I'm very good at pack handling, I'm very good at, you know, seeing moves, positioning myself, shielding. So I kind of finessed a lot. You can see I'm pushing 1,000 watts. The lead out, I didn't even have a proper lead out, and I'm pushing almost 1,000, you know, 1,100 watts to catch up. And I think in this race, for watching back right now, I finished second, or I think I got, oh no, fourth or third. I think fourth. He beat me at the line, but it was crazy. Like, I'm not riding much. I was literally just riding for commuting purposes. So if we actually look at my bike, I think what ended up happening was, I said I had the $3,500 bike, and I was like, guys, I do not need a $3,500 bike at the moment, you know? So I said, you know what? I think it would be better get rid of that bike and go for a bike that actually is cost efficient, that I can race on eventually and not feel, you know, terrible if I crash it. And, you know, it was just better. It just made more sense, you know, have a cheaper bike that still performs and save that money and actually do something with it, you know, be able to buy better shoes, better equipment, go to races. Like, you know, that money can actually work for me. If we're looking at the Giant United States website, the TCR Advanced 2 KOM Edition 2020, which is my bike, they basically is the exact same for 2021. It actually retails for $2,050, so there is a price difference of around $1,500 when we compare it to this one. But then again, if you're going for an equivalent, since most brands don't even have disc rim brake availabilities, and you have to go for disc brake, you're paying $4,500 minimum. Usually brands are charging $5,000. So this was my bike, you know, 1 of 5 group set, carbon fiber frame. It has a carbon fiber fork with an aluminum steer, aluminum rims, which are terrible. We've already gone down that boat. And, you know, that's basically it. You know, tubeless rims. But this is basically all you need, and I truly did believe that. I've ridden basically on everything. I've ridden expensive bikes. I've ridden, you know, top tier stuff like the old Venge Vias. I've ridden them all. You know, every group set you can imagine. And at the end of the day, you know, I always say this: 105 in a carbon frame and some aluminum rims are basically the gold standard, right? And this is where I want to, you know, touch up on that, because a lot of people get really sidetracked with, you know, expensive versus cheap bikes. And this bike was 8.4 kilograms in terms of its weight. And one thing I want to note about that is that I'm pretty sure the yellow bike was around 6.7, 6.8. So basically UCI legal, or just above UCI legal. And you can tell a difference. I'm not here to pretend that a lighter bike isn't going to perform well. But the craziest thing was myself, I wasn't in the position to perform. Like, I just didn't merit that bike. And now, this is by no means saying that if you are not, you know, top fitness, you can't ride expensive bikes. To each is their own. What people want to spend their money on is totally up to them. I'm just saying, personally, I just didn't feel good really riding a super expensive bike and not being able to really, you know, deserve it. At least that's how I felt. And I'm not saying everyone has to feel like that, but that's my train of thought. That's how I think. So, you know, I got the cheaper bike, and you see here it's on the trainer, and I just pedaled. I literally did what I say every time: keep on pedaling. Every day I would ride my bike for at least an hour, almost 2 hours, cleaned up my diet. And if you guys want me to make a video more in depth, I probably will down the line, but this video is just to explain the whole process without going too down on a certain rabbit hole. But you can see I just rode. And because I live in Canada, I started roughly in December of last year. So I just rode December, January, February, and I was just consistent. And that's one thing I want to touch upon on this video is it's consistency. You know, you can ride at 100 watts, but if you do that every single day of the month, or at least try like 4 or 5 times a week, your cycling will be insane. But then again, the reality is you can probably do less time and just higher watts, and you'll yield a better, overall improvement. So that's one thing. Structured training is important, and that's why I did incorporate. But just getting on the bike is so important if you want to become fitter, right? Getting on the bike is usually the hardest thing, and you can see this is about 4 to 5 months of training. I revolutionized my body. You can see I don't even look similar at all. This is just from, like I said, guys, basic riding. I started incorporating structured interval training, did some Zwift racing, but you can see, this isn't achieved overnight. This is, methodical with time. And it's just crazy how, I was able to realize that, hey, you know what? I can do this on a cheaper bike. I don't need a super expensive bike. And instead, this is a great famous quote. Instead of buying upgrades, ride upgrades, just train. Like, that was me, guys. That was me. This is me. And this is from the other angle. And within about 5 months, complete night and day, that's just a lot of riding around the neighborhood, riding in parks, long rides by myself, just really getting out there. And this is pretty much me at the peak of June, July. So the season here in Canada is very short, but you can see I literally look like a Tour de France rider, which is insane. And you can see before, when I had the more expensive bike, I did not. So it's just crazy that I think the sad thing in the cycling community is we very much are focused on equipment, and I think that's amazing. And here is literally the absolute peak of my season in terms of fitness. And one thing I just want to touch upon before I go back to that point is that it's not realistic, obviously, to keep that level of fitness all year long. You're going to have off season. So I kind of put on some weight because, it's winter here, and, to say that structured is very difficult, especially if you live in a cold climate. I think people don't realize how hard it is because, most people complain about doing an hour, 2 hours outside. And I was doing that 2 hours every day on Zwift during the winters, every day on the trainer, 2 hours. Imagine that. And then it got to some points when I was really taking my training serious. I was doing 3 hours on Zwift. So I never want to hear people really complain about, oh my God, it's hot outside and I have to ride 2 hours. Like, I wish that was my problem, but it's not. I have the opposite where it's freezing. So yeah, obviously it's not, that easy to maintain that level of fitness, but that's why, since I had a pretty good break from September, I haven't ridden that much to begin with, packed on a little bit of weight, but that's totally fine because the whole thing is that you're going to have ups and downs, especially with your cycling, journey and performance. So that's why I'm really dedicating December, January, February until either weather warms up or I can travel somewhere that's warm. I'm going to dedicate getting back into shape, back into structured training, and I'm going to make more videos about this. So if you guys really want to see how I train or how I'm actually going to get back into shape and back into, pretty much peak season form by the time the new season rolls up. Even if we don't have a season, I want to be in shape to smash some, KOMs or whatever I'm feeling for 2021. Then like this video and comment that you want to see that. It's crazy what your body can do, guys. And I feel like not enough people in the cycling community really preach that. And I'm not trying to say that that should be the most important thing that you're thinking about every single day, every ride is fitness, fitness, fitness. Like, yeah, you want to enjoy, you want to have a nice looking bike, you want to feel good about your bike, you want to have a nice kit, nice helmet. Like, I get it. You look good, you feel good. But there comes a point which no one talks about, and this is basically why you shouldn't buy an expensive bike. Like, this is the absolute truth, is usually, if we really look at it, who really deserves or who should actually be riding on a super, super expensive bike? I'm talking, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10K bikes. It's usually people that are racing at that top tier level that need all the marginal gains, because let's be honest, I had the yellow bike, I had the budget bike, that was like $1,500 cheaper or even $2,000 cheaper. Do you really think that I would perform worse now being fitter on the heavier bike than being less fit on the yellow bike, which is the lighter, more expensive bike? Which one do you think I would actually be better performing on? If you guys say the yellow bike, that doesn't make sense. It's obviously the heavier, cheaper bike because fitness is what determines performance on the bike. So I just feel like people need to be reminded that expensive bikes are basically a waste of money if you don't have the fitness to match it up with. And then I don't want to see people in the comments saying, well, if I have the money, I'm not debating. If you have the cash and the money and you want to burn it on that, then so be it. I just find it, in my opinion, it's just a waste when you can literally get the same experience. If you're in peak fitness, you'll actually benefit from having a lighter bike, better performing tires, and most likely the reason why I got this fit is because I wanted to race that season. I wanted to race. It wasn't, I was just doing this for fun. Then again, I do like just, taking it to the extreme. So regardless, I think I would ride as much as I did last season. I rode almost 22,000 kilometers this season. What I'm trying to say is expensive bikes, even at my level, unless I'm racing tier 1, eventually, hopefully very soon, I was trying to do that this season, is that until I get to that level, there wouldn't actually make any sense to have that level of performing bike, expensive bike, unless I have the cash to burn, which even if I do, guys, I just don't understand how I could be like, well, you know what? I could have the same performance and it wouldn't really be, drastically different. And there's so many videos online that compare one saves 1 minute over a 20-kilometer course. And it's just like, okay, I agree. Yes, lighter, more aerodynamic. Like, I totally agree. Yes, it will perform better, but you can't tell me that, if you really go from untrained to trained, that 1 minute is like, the training is going to be the biggest difference. That 1 minute in aerodynamics and weight is so minute. And it just really pisses me off because majority of people that are buying 6, 7, 8K bikes are not in top tier, fitness. And I think that's something to be promoted. It's like, why wouldn't you want to be fit? Why wouldn't you want to be stronger on the bike? And the people that usually are promoting these expensive bikes are pro riders or riders with extreme fitness that are not paying for these bikes outright, that are sponsored and that are giving these bikes to race on, which I just find so, sad, because you have these, passionate, weekend warriors and cyclists that look up to these pros or see these top tier riders in their area and they're like, well, I want to look like that, or I want to have a bike that looks like that. Or they feel that, if I have an expensive bike, I feel as if I'm a top tier racer, which I just think is so backward. I think what I realized from riding with the pros is I saw, and that's the thing, most people don't see this, I've seen $10,000, $15,000 bikes. And do you think I was impressed by them? I thought they were cool, but I was more impressed with the level of fitness these riders had, the whole, their character, their determination, their persistence. Like, that was more appealing than the bike. And most riders do not think like that. So that's what I'm trying to really promote. And I'm trying to say, from someone that literally has gone from night and day for fitness, that has racing experience, that has experience in the cycling industry, that has ridden pretty much every bike under the sun. Like, I'm telling you guys, it is okay to buy a 2,105 level entry bike than to spend your money on a super expensive bike to feel that you need to be accepted by the cycling community, because that's further by the truth. You will be accepted and respected when you're the first one or in the main pack going over the climb, the hardest climb in the group ride. That's when you're respected. It doesn't matter if you're on a tricycle. Well, that'd be pretty hard, but it doesn't matter what type of bike you're on. If you're over the top of the hill where the majority of the pack is slacking, that shows, like, you know what you're doing, you know how to ride. It doesn't matter if you're on a $1,000 bike or a $1,500 bike. Like, the fitness is what, well, tell everyone he knows what he's doing. He's fit. And I just think that's so much more important. That's the whole goal. So I think it's a waste of money. Last thing, I could talk about the subject all day because it really grinds my gears, literally. It's a waste of money to buy an expensive bike if you're not in peak shape, because the benefits that you're gonna get are just counterproductive, because that 1 minute or extra savings you're gonna get, or extra performance, you could probably, that costs thousands of dollars to get. Like, from a $2,000 bike to a $5,000 bike, that's $3,000 worth of difference. And you'll obviously get a little bit more comfortable, more faster ride. Like I said, like tops 30 seconds to a minute. Where if you literally transformed your body in 6 months in fitness, the performance boost is astronomical. And guess how much it costed? Just costed determination, perseverance, and consistency. That's it. And that's free. So it's just crazy how something free, like, destroys a $3,000 upgrade. So that's the whole point of the video. If you guys like more of these topic subjects, I'm going to make more of these videos. I love, the fitness side of cycling. So if any questions or any topics that you guys want me to cover, leave it in the comment section down below. I apologize. I'm trying to make these videos. I haven't talked about the subject that much as of recently, so I'm trying to get back into the swings of things. I'm trying to figure out my groove to explain it so you guys can understand it without bombarding you with a bunch of information right off the top. So I hope you guys do appreciate it, and be a little bit patient for me to get my groove with the subject. And until the next one, keep on pedaling.